So today we're going to be making one of the classics in our house, carrot cake. You can see I have a recipe book full of recipes, and this one has torn pages and splatters all over it, so it's been well used. I don't even need the recipe at this point. So let's get started. The cake comes together very quickly. We're using grated carrots, coconut, pineapple, and raisins to kind of add all that flavor in with the cinnamon. Of course, the recipe in full will be at the end of the video, and you can also find it on beatyourneighbor.com. So initially, we're going to combine our wet ingredients and the sugar. So I've beaten some eggs. We're going to add in buttermilk, some vegetable oil, and sugar. Now you might ask, why do we put the sugar in with the wet ingredients? Because sugar dissolves, so we want it to dissolve within those wet ingredients to make that first portion of the recipe. We're also going to add in some vanilla at this point. Once that is completely combined, we're going to add the dry ingredients in. So we're going to add in our flour, cinnamon, baking soda, and salt. And we'll mix this first, and then we'll go and add in the fruits and vegetables. Now that the base of the cake is all mixed up, and of course we've scraped the bottom to make sure that there's no dry ingredients that get stuck there, we're going to start adding in our fruits and vegetables. So we're going to have grated carrots, and you can just peel them and then grate them on a box grater. And we're going to add that to our mixture. We're going to add in coconut, raisins, and pineapple. So we're going to add in that whole can there. Mix that all up. Now that the batter is all combined and it's scraped down so you know that there's no dry ingredients or clumps of fruits or vegetables at the bottom, start getting it prepared into the pan. First, make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees so that it's ready to go once you pour it. What I've done with my pan, it's a 13 by 9. I've greased it and added some flour to it and then shook it around and tossed the extra flour. And that'll help make it not stick as much. But because this is such a dense cake and it has so much of the pineapple and the coconut and the carrots, I don't want it to stick at all. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of wax paper that I've pressed into the pan and then cut it out, and I'm just going to lay it at the bottom. When I take it out of the pan, it will easily come out with the wax paper, and then I can take that off. So let's get the batter put into the pan and in the oven. The oven is 350 degrees, and I've put the rack towards the lower portion of the oven, and we're going to bake it for 50 to 55 minutes. You do not want to over bake this, so make sure you set a timer. Now while the cake is baking, we're going to go ahead and make the frosting just to set aside so it's all ready to go once the cake is cooled. So first thing, it is a cream cheese frosting. It's going to be more of a smooth, silky texture, not very fluffy. So when you do that, keep that in mind. We're going to add in cream cheese and some butter. And we're going to add the vanilla right away. Combine that till it's nice and whipped together and creamy. Now that we have our butter, our cream cheese, and our vanilla all combined, you'll notice two things. One, I'm using a whisk attachment, and that's going to incorporate more air into the frosting as much as we can get it. Also, I didn't add in the other liquid. Now the reason for that is I want to add in my powdered sugar and get it started, then add in the heavy cream because it allows me to control the consistency of the frosting. If it needs just a little bit more, I can add a little bit more, or if I think it's just right, then I can stop. You can see I didn't use all of the heavy cream, but it is at the right consistency. You can see it's just barely holding a peak. If I wiggle it a little bit, it'll kind of bend over. So it's not too thick, but it's not soupy where it will run off of the cake. We're gonna cover this with some saran wrap and just put it off to the side until our cake has cooled and ready to be frosted. Look at how good this looks. And the whole house smells like cinnamon. You can't beat that. So just to test the cake, we're gonna do the toothpick method, and that's where we put a toothpick in the middle of the cake, and if it comes out clean, cake is done. If it comes out with a lot of batter on it, it obviously needs to cook a little bit longer. I'm gonna encourage the cake to start separating from the side, and I'm just gonna run a knife or a metal spatula along the edges just so that when we flip it out, it doesn't stick at all. And that wax paper that we put at the bottom of the cake will prevent it from sticking at the very bottom. So we'll be able to peel that off and discard it once it starts cooling. Now that the cake has completely cooled, you can either put it onto a platter or you can put frosting on it right in the pan that you've baked it in. So we're gonna take that frosting and smother it all over until it's completely covered. Now that the cake has all of the frosting on it, I'm just gonna add a little bit of coconut that I've dyed orange to represent that carrot color and just sprinkle around the edges just for a little decorative feature. This is not part of the recipe that you have to do. It just makes that cake kind of brighten up and make it a little bit more festive for the occasion. Now I know you want to cut into this right away and eat it because it looks and smells so good, but this is a cake that you need to wait 24 hours and let it sit overnight in the refrigerator. Put some saran on top, let it sit in the refrigerator and let it just rest, and that'll make all of those flavors combine, the moisture will get locked in there, and it's so much better the second day. The recipe is at the end of this video, and you can always find it at beatyourneighbor.com. Hope you enjoy.